Hey everyone, welcome to the Oasis podcast. I'm your host, Miss AJ. Thanks for tuning in. An oasis is something that provides refuge, relief, or a pleasant contrast, and that is exactly what you will find tuning into the Oasis podcast. This is a space where I and special guests will be cultivating intentional and honest conversations about life's journey. Subscribe everywhere you listen to podcasts and watch us on YouTube now. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for joining us again on the Oasis podcast. Today, I have with me a brand new guest, Mac. Mac is here with us. We're talking about Baecations today. So Mac and I actually met on, it was a travel site, right? But it was like a Black singles travel, not a site. It was a Facebook page, right?
Right.
Clearly, that's two things about us. At the time, we were single, but we also love to travel. And this is a topic that travel is something we actually talked about a lot. Actually, when outside was open, we were able to travel a lot more. So we talked definitely a lot about traveling. And recently, we reconnected and wanted to talk about Baecations, right? Like what that looks like, how that goes. But before we jump into that, Mac, please introduce yourself to the listeners and those who are watching us.
Well, hello world. Actually, this is my first podcast debut. Yeah, so you got the first.
Got the exclusive.
Right. Yeah. So about me, I'm originally from upstate New York. Like she said, we met in the travel group, and just supporting her movement, her podcast. A couple other things that I've seen. So I just figured, why not talk about a topic that we had in common?
Absolutely. Thank you. Let's just jump right in there. First, let's explain to people what Baecations are. I mean, I don't know. Some people might not know what that is. But, for those who don't know. So a Baecation is pretty much, real simply, you have a bae, aka a boo, a partner, or a girlfriend, boyfriend, other, significant other, and you go on a vacation with them. Put those two together, vacation, right? So traveling with your significant other essentially is what a vacation is. For those who don't know. I think as we get older, we probably think about this more. I don't think that for me when I was younger, I thought about traveling with a significant other. Like it was just like, I don't know. I just traveled with friends. I traveled with family. And it wasn't until I was like it was like my early 20s that I actually started traveling with a partner, but it was not like solo travel. It was like group travel. But gotcha. Solo travel with your partner is different. It's different. I think there's a lot of things that you should put into consideration. At least now that I've gotten older, I feel like there's a lot of things that should be put into consideration before you travel with your partner. But before I get into all my little quirks and stuff, because I got them, what are your thoughts? Do you feel that there are any type of prerequisites before traveling? And kind of when did you start vacationing?
Actually, looking back at it, I think I've been doing this before vacation became vacation. Yeah. I think okay, so if we're really going to talk about it, you got to have them papers. You got to have them the clean bill of health. Sorry, but not sorry.
Up to that. Thank you. Because when I say that, people be looking at me like I got three heads. Thank you. Yes, you right. All right, okay, before we jumping into prereqs, before we do that, like, I guess how long ago did you start, vacationing or traveling? Like, roughly around, like, what age do you feel?
I was in my early 20s. Matter of fact, my very first one was on a cruise.
Oh.
On a cruise.
Okay.
Yeah, her and I, we had we weren't really involved with each other like that, but it was a good chemistry at first. And then things happen. And yeah, so, but anyway, that was my very, very first one was on a cruise. And I think that was about 2011, 2012.
Okay. A little while ago. Okay, so all right, so you did mention that y'all had chemistry at first. I don't know, did chemistry go bad on the vacation, or was like afterwards?
Yeah. It was on the trip, which was crazy because we hung out a few times. We've done a few things, went out, that kind of stuff. But I think because we traveled differently,
Mm,
um, yeah, like I wanted to do some things, she didn't want to do some things, and vice versa. So that's paramount. I think to having a successful trip.
absolutely. So that's kind of why the prerequisite question actually popped into my head, because it's not until I started having, like, actually going on vacations and even just traveling in general with groups of people that I started really thinking about traveling, the styles of travel, because people travel differently, and that could really make or break your trip. And
Right.
especially, you should really think about that a lot more. Especially when you're traveling with somebody that you care about, like, or you want to get to know, or you're in a relationship with, because that can make or break that relationship. So again, so now let's hop back on to the prerequisite. What do you feel before you even, let's say, make a suggestion about, let's go on this vacation or this trip? What do you need?
Okay, let me just clarify. I'm not talking about going on vacation with randoms. Okay.
No,
I
I hear
think
you. Hmm.
there has to be some type of there has to be some type of yeah, it definitely has to be some chemistry there. Yeah, so other than the chemistry, I think having a set boundary, that helps. Not a boundary, but I don't know, a friendship, if you will. I think that helps with coming to a vacation.
Okay. So definitely, I definitely agree with that. There should be some type of chemistry. I don't know. I mean, I don't know people who go on vacations with just randoms. When I mean random, meaning like you literally just met the person. You're like, hey, come with me to Mexico, because, like, I don't know. I'm that's never been my thing.
Well,
But
we can speak to it from the group aspect a little bit. I mean, we've seen that happen. Yeah,
that is
coming through. I was like, really? Wow, okay.
no, that is true. That is true. I know there are people who literally met each other the first time on the trip, right? Like they purposely met at a location. You right. You
Right.
right.
I mean, but again, I think that there's a level of understanding. Like, okay, but like, listen, I'm gonna be in Mexico. These dates. Like, where you gonna be at? Okay, well, let's meet there, and
Mm-hmm.
then but traditionally speaking, most some type of friendship or relationship builds, and then they go on go on a vacation.
So what else you feel is the requirement? So you talked about them papers that you met. Explain to the people what you mean by papers.
You already know, clean bill of health. Now we got to add in COVID. Now we got to add COVID-19 to it.
That negative COVID, you know what I'm saying?
All your results. This is the only time being negative is a positive. You know what I mean? So you got to be So I need all negatives.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So wait,
um,
so a little side note, but I do want to know, this is only asked when you going on vacation? Like, because I asked this, honestly, I don't really like kissing people without seeing some
no,
results.
no, 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 no. I mean, well, we gotta listen. If we grown enough to get into it, you better be grown enough to have that conversation up front. And I'm just saying, specifically speaking to vacations. Like, yeah, that's a that is a prerequisite, right? And if you guys haven't got into it beforehand, because that's another thing too that can mess up a vacation or make it a greater memorable one, is if that was taken care of. Um, yeah, no, you definitely had that conversation. At least for me, I had that conversation. Up front. I think those is one of those within those first 2 dates, whatever you want to call it. Kind of thing.
I agree. Agreed. So definitely those papers, aka those views still ain't figure it out. STD check, right? Making sure, there ain't nothing going on that need to be handled, and anything that you don't want to get from someone else. Or just flat out having a conversation. We're not gonna STD shame out here in these streets, but just talking about it, having that conversation and seeing those results. And also though, seeing papers is or having papers. There's a lot of people who don't have a passport. Yeah,
That too.
that's
That
actually a
too.
thing. That's a thing. And that could also put like a wrench in any plans, right? Like if you really trying to get away, because you and I both, we live in, you know, some cold ass states, and sometimes we need some sun, you know, and we want to leave the country. So it's like, I don't want to go to Florida, you know, I want to be, you know, I want to be in the Bahamas somewhere, or Jamaica, whatever island or country that's just warmer than where we currently are. And if you're a person doesn't have a passport, they never had a passport expired, like that can also throw some things off in regards to how you are able to plan stuff. And I've encountered a lot of people who ain't never had a passport, and yeah, okay, and that's frustrating. Or finding out that they can't get a passport, and so you know.
I don't. Okay, so I don't travel shame. I don't want a passport shame. You know, I think that there is a. Trust me, I get it. I think it's about, excuse me, the level of exposure some people have had or haven't had in their life. Some people never, you know, they think Atlanta, Miami, you know, Texas, I guess, are all, you know, hot travel destinations. I mean, and rightfully so in some degree. But there's more to the world than just, you know, Atlanta, Miami, Texas.
Exactly. There's a lot more to the world than just those. So, okay, so outside of that, so the papers, hopefully you got travel documents, and making sure there's chemistry. Do you feel there's a time frame? Does the time frame matter?
Timing can be a little bit tricky because you can meet somebody and, you know, just really have, you know, a real good connection, and, you know, y'all planning trips like for the next month. Then there are other situations where you're trying to feel them out and, you know, make sure that, well, at least in my case, you know, you're not getting suckered. You know, you got yeah, you know, you got to make sure that you know, she with you for the right reasons, and not just because you can, you know, fly her across the globe. You know, there's some people that's like that.
Okay. So based off of your comments, so I'm assuming you're saying that, you know, if you guys are taking that trip, you're going to cover it? Like, is their cost not shared? Is it like, how does that work?
See, that goes back to your question about prerequisites. Is having that conversation about finances, who's funding the trip. You know, I can say I've done one. We were in a relationship, so that was totally different. Where I basically, you know, I paid for the trip, which it was a great trip. It was a great experience. But yeah, you got to have that question. You know, we going half. We doing, you know, 70-30.
Right. I agree. I completely agree. I think for me, I mean, I've never taken a vacation with someone that I wasn't in a relationship with. So I guess my perspective is a little bit different. But depending on when in the relationship the trip happens, I think depends also on like the when, and then also the means. And by means, I'm saying sometimes everyone's not equally yoked financially. So for me, the when, if it's early on in a relationship and it's like something local, I think we should go Dutch, to be honest. Like, this is how much everything is. This is what your half is. This is what my half is, right? To me, I would be okay with that thought. Like, I'm okay with that. It's very early on. I'm not expecting you to make it rain on me unless that's something you want to do. Now that's on you, right? But I would be fully expecting to carry my load. But then, now let's say you are in a relationship with this person and they're, you know, just further along the way. If that person just doesn't have the means, you may be going Dutch for all your vacations, you know, like, you know, it's a thing. Or depending, it's like, all right, I'll pay for the flight and the hotel, and then when we get there, you know, you pay for food or you pay for whatever we do down there, you know. So yeah, just like what you said, I think that's a conversation that needs to happen way before you even travel. But sometimes it can happen depending on the destination, right? So like depending on the location, depending on the time that you're traveling, because, you know, people's pockets may look different at different times. So
yeah, most of my trips have been planned way out. So that way, you don't run into the the money situation. But first and foremost, with any trip, not just a vacation, but always it's cash. Cash rules everything around me. I've never fronted a trip on credit. So that's first and foremost. Making sure you can actually do it. Yeah, but definitely got to have that conversation very early on. Like I said, when you get to that point in whatever the relationship or situation, because some people are in situationships, or now the new word is entanglement. So
yeah.
It might not be a vacation, maybe an entanglecation or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, again, I've never traveled with someone who wasn't a actual partner, so I don't know how tricky it can get in regards to like we're not really something. So not knowing if someone's trying to. That's not true. I'm lying. I'm lying. I did have one.
See. Look at you.
I clearly forgot it for a reason. Yeah. So I did. I did travel with someone that was not my partner. The trip was fine. It was a great trip. It would have been a better trip with someone else. But it was, it was, you live, you learn. You know what I'm saying? So you mentioned like making sure to feel somebody out, making sure that they're not trying to, get a free trip out of you. So is that something that's pretty common? Because when I heard that, I'm thinking, okay, like meeting someone from like the page that we were on, I can see how that can be a thing, right? Like I can see how, people are in there looking for somebody to just like cover a trip and say you like them just so they can take a trip to the place they've never been. Is that something that happens in quote unquote real life, like not online? Like, is that a thing?
I think that's more of an online thing. I think for me, like I can speak for me personally, like within my relationship that I've had, because I like to travel. I'm the type of person that if I'm doing something, we doing something. You know what I mean? So like in my past relationships, like I've taken my girlfriend or whatever on, we've gone on a trip, or I planned it. Like, listen, this is what we're gonna do. That's how much it costs. But I think that's like more of an online thing because you're specifically in that group or whatever travel group you're in for traveling. So people generally won't find out the travel habits in person unless you made that connection. Hopefully by then you've vetted and verified.
I think that with travel it's a little tricky. You won't know how that person travels unless you actually travel with them, because I think people say or they have images of themselves in their head. But the reality of the situation is that there's something entirely different. And I think that it's a little bit tricky when it comes to travel, trying to figure out who that person is until you actually travel. But the problem with that is like you can end up in a freaking disaster, right? And you're away from home and you may be gone for X amount of days. And that's the part about it that really freaking sucks. But you mentioned before about, usually plan out your trips. I'm a spontaneous traveler, and I think that might really be a thing that might have caused, I know it has caused issues when I've been in relationships with people, mainly because I've been with people who like to travel, or would like to travel, but it's not necessarily something that they're actively doing, and they don't do it in the way that I do it. Like I can, what's today? Today is like Sunday. I could be like, tomorrow I could be like, man, I need a trip, and I'll book a trip. And I'll be gone next Sunday. I'm gone. And then some people don't get that. They're like, "What the fuck? What you mean?" And sometimes, like what you said, people like to plan things out ahead of time. And again, it could be because of their pockets. It could be they need to mentally prep themselves. I don't know what it is, but I'm a spontaneous traveler. For me, planning something out way ahead, it makes me uncomfortable. It's weird, but it just makes me uncomfortable because part of me goes, what if I never make it? Like whatever that, like if it's like months and months ahead, a month, 2 months, 3 max, but like half a year, a whole year, I don't know, that makes me uncomfortable. I like to know it's coming soon. And to me, that's caused some issues for me in my dynamics. How about you?
All right, I got to go back. I'm trying to remember the point where you said, okay, so spontaneity, right? It's awesome. It's cool. I too am a spontaneous traveler. Like, and what I meant by planning it months out was, so I have a habit of just surfing the net trying to find flight deals. Mm-hmm. So, for instance, my real quick, I was trying to plan up my birthday trip a couple of years ago, my 33rd, and I wanted to go to Dublin. I want to go to Ireland because my last name is Irish. So anyway, I'm surfing the net, and then I come across low airfare to go to Thailand in January of that same year. So I booked it. Now that was like 6 months out because I was looking in about June, July. So I booked the ticket. I went to Thailand for under $400 round trip. So that's what I mean by like planning, stuff like, like months out. Like I'll just look for stuff. But I think the other part of that too, like what you were saying, be like, okay, today's Sunday. Okay, by Tuesday, I'm gone. A lot of that I think has to do with, I know some people go not like me, not having kids. I get this all the time. People,
It's true.
I get it all the time. People be like, "Oh, you just do, it must be nice, you don't have kids, or you can just kind of do whatever."
It is.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It is not having kids has its benefits. I mean, but I could say, for me as a man, at this point, I wouldn't mind having a couple of crib midgets around. But I know that I'm not going to be able to take off like I used to. But yeah, you. Yeah, I'm quick. I'm quick with it. Like, all right, I'm gone. And people at my job, they ask like, how you get all this vacation time or money and this money? Well, I do what I do.
Right. And then you said a lot of points that I want to touch on right now. But no, you're absolutely right in regards to finding a deal that's like a few months out. Like, I can understand that, especially if that particular trip, like a trip to Thailand, is expensive. You can find it for the low, take it, right? But for me, just personally, I might do it, but it just makes me uncomfortable because in my head, I'm like, what if I never make it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's so far out, right? And to me, it's just like, I don't know. I like to know it's coming soon. But you also made another point about, not having children. And that's absolutely right. Like, that's a part of it that I think is different for a lot of folks. And also, like, your type of employment. Like, they may not give you the time off, right? So I've been blessed with employment where, you still got to get permission and all that. But my supervisors and such want to have a lot of time. But my supervisors and such, like, they're not going to give me a hard time. If I'm like, hey, sis, like, it's like literally a week or two. I'm like, I'm out. It's like, all right, do what you got to do and then be out, So it's not a problem. So there are, elements to it. But the pocket wise, like what you said, if you love something, you do it. If you love, and it's like, for me, honestly, it's part of my life. Like, it's part of my self-care. So just like you budget for your rent and all this stuff, I budget money just so I can have some, a stash in case I want to go somewhere, just real quick, just go boop, boop, and then call it a day. So yeah, I think, and I've had people also tell me the same thing, like, you always traveling, like, you must be making money. And it's like, traveling is not that expensive as people think it is. If you know how to travel smart, like, it's really not that expensive. Granted, you need some coins. You need some coins, of course, to buy the tickets and stuff. And again, like what you said, if you could look for deals, if you know how to search, you can find some good deals. But of course, having some money in your pocket when you get there, again, that's your budgeting habits, what your pockets look like. But you can make that work and not break bank at all.
Well, now I guess you can bring tickets on layaway.
Oh, I didn't even know you could do that. I've never done it. I've never done that, but I didn't even know. I'm not surprised. And that's also another thing. You're absolutely right? So like, if you are planning, you want to travel, again, money, money's funny. Yeah, you can book trips, and I think there's certain sites that let you pay an installment, and so you can pay and you can pay a little bit here, a little there. Some people book through travel agents that may allow you to do that. Me, I like to book my own trips. I like to plan my own things and kind of search for my own deals, like really search for things that I would feel comfortable with. Yeah, there's so many ways that you can do it if you really want to do it. And sometimes if your pockets ain't
there you have to cut corners, to if you really want to travel. And I think some people don't want to, sometimes make that sacrifice. When I started traveling, I was young. I wasn't in a salary job. I made it work though. Like I made it happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, but anyway, we digress. We're talking about vacation. In regards to that, so let's say, you are with your, you just met the person. By just met, I'll say you're like 2 months in, a couple months in, and even better. Okay, you're a couple months in. You already had a trip planned to. Everybody's in Tulum right now, so everybody's in Tulum. You on to Tulum, right? How do you work that? Do you go on a trip because you booked the trip solo because that was what it was at the time? But now you have somebody. Do you change your plans? You add them, or like how do you work that?
Why do you make mention of that particular location? Because now it's a hot spot. Before people really knew about it, I was already thinking about going. Now I don't want to go. But
I don't want to go no more either. I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, nope.
Everybody there. So, but anyway, going based off that scenario, if I already had that trip, planned, booked, paid for, before her and I got together, I would invite her, along. I'd be like, hey, listen, I already had this trip, here, buy your plane ticket. Everything else is already covered. You know what I mean? Like my plane ticket, the hotel room, whatever, all that stuff is already paid for. All you got to do is just get there. So if you want to come, you just buy your tickets. I have done that before in a previous, situation. It was very similar to that, again, because I planned it out months in advance, before her and I, were together. I was like, hey, I got this year trip coming. If you want to come, I would like for you to come. But if you want to come, all you got to do is just, buy your plane ticket. You be good. So
okay, so you would you would invite them on a trip, but you got to find your way there. Essentially, the other person got to find their way there.
Yeah. I mean, going that timeline, 2 months, 2 months. I wouldn't necessarily, buy their ticket, but being a man in a relationship, hey, listen, I already had this plan and booked, before we got together. But if you want to come, all you got to do is get there. So hey,
let's say, let's add another layer to it. Let's say she really wants to go, but she don't got it. She don't got it. What would you do then?
Oh, don't worry. We'll have other times to, to take a trip.
I feel the same way. I ain't even mad at you for that response. I'm not even mad at you for that response.
Hey, listen. Listen, don't worry about it. We got plenty of time to take a trip together. So, I'll see you in about 3-4 days.
Yeah.
No. I was just saying that. I think again, there has to be a certain level of other than chemistry. Understanding. You know what I mean? Like you. Don't get me wrong. Some people get really attached to people within like that 1 month, 2 month period. But again, if she didn't have it, then I'm like, well, you should just stay here and work, save up some money, and the next time, we're gonna get it together.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. I've been in that exact situation of having a trip booked and meeting someone, and that person was like, oh wow, that's a great location, but they had it, and it was just like, well, I'll see you when I get back. And like that person felt a way about it, but it's like that ain't got nothing to do with me. Like, I don't know you. I'm not. No, sir. But at least now right? Like, kind of where my head is at in regards to travel, so next time to be ready.
It's funny you say that. Even with just meeting somebody, but even in a relationship, right? And having a vacation and everything within a relationship, I think that especially for two, people that love to travel, I think it's good to travel by yourself sometimes if you need that stuff.
Agreed. Why you feel that way though?
Don't get me wrong. Being in a relationship is awesome. Is great. But I think that two people, deserve, their alone time. You know what I mean? that period where, okay, well, listen, whether it's a guy's trip, a girl's trip, whatever the case may be, and that goes to speaking to a whole another level of comfortability within the relationship and knowing that your partner isn't going to be out there, whatever. But yeah, you equally deserve that, that mental, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, that break. So
relationships are great. They can be great, and they can also be very draining, and they can also be just a lot of other things, not necessarily negative things, but things that require energy. Sometimes you need a break from it. I completely agree with you. But you know what? It's funny that you brought that up, because I had another question that I was going to ask that kind of stems around that. I've been in a relationship with someone where, again, I'm that person. We've talked about it. We're like, yo, I need to get away. And it just so happened I was like very early on in a relationship with someone. I'm not going to mention which particular ex this was, but I was in a very, it was like maybe like, just a few months in at this point. And I was just at my wit's end. I just needed to get away. And then it was kind of like, okay, yeah, cool. I want to go with you. Okay. Waiting, for people to, figure it out. I read this time off, getting the time off, this and that and third. So let's say, long story short, we end up booking the trip, and okay, cool, no worries. It took a little longer than I would have liked, but I was patient. All right, did what I had to do. Now, for whatever reason, the person ended up getting sick. Like literally right before the trip, ended up getting sick. And they couldn't travel, and they thought I wasn't going to travel. I'm not sick. So, in my mind, in all honesty, I really didn't even, there was not even like a second thought in my head of like, I wasn't going. It was like, oh man, I'm saying I can't go. I was like, damn, that sucks. I really wanted to travel with you. I still was like, you know what I mean? Like, so I completely agree with you in that notion of like, you got to travel by yourself. Because at the end of the day, what sparked this vacation was me wanting a trip and you saying you wanted to go on a trip too. But I was completely 1000% ready to travel by myself. And so that actually became a thing, though. It was a thing. Like, we had like a whole like argument, a whole like back and forth about it, not really understanding the who, what's, where's, and hows and whys, that I needed to go on a trip by myself if this person couldn't come with me. It was like, I'm confused.
Yeah, you stone cold for that.
How am I so cold for that?
My man's is on his deathbed, all right, and you like, all right, listen, I'm gonna see you when I get back. But if I don't, I'm a,
Actually, was not on his deathbed when I left. He did end up going to the hospital after, though.
See what I'm saying?
It's not funny. It's not funny. However, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to be real 100% real honest with you. Before I left, he was sick, but he wasn't on that level. But secondly, that's not my responsibility. You're a grown man. No, seriously. There's more details to it, but I ain't going to add all the extra details. But that's how I feel about it. There were just extra elements to it, making me sound like I'm cold-hearted. I ain't cold-hearted. I did check up on him, make sure he was good. You know what I'm saying? I did do all that, and I made sure there were people around like that was in New York that could check up on him, make sure the person was all right. So I did do that. However, I needed the trip, and I think I was in a space too of like, I already delayed the trip for like a month out. Further out than I would have wanted, because waiting for this person when I was ready to take the trip weeks ago, you know what I mean? And then now it's another barrier. Now it's like, oh, I'm sick now, but now you don't know when you'll be available to go. No, I don't operate like that. And I've learned from that experience, because we've had actually several travel experiences of like, from that particular relationship where I wanted to travel and he either couldn't or he couldn't for whatever the reasons, and I still went. And it was like, it was like a point of contention. Like, it was just like, you really gonna be? Yes. Because whether or not you were here or not, I was going to do this. You know what I mean? I was going to take these trips. So what are your thoughts about that? Like, do you change your travel style because you're in a relationship? Like how your frequency of how you travel, maybe the locations you go to, or even the places you, and people you travel with, if you travel with people, do you change that based off your status in a relationship?
No. At least I don't believe I did. I've always been, before vacation and, traveling, period, you know how it go. You gather the information, you try to disseminate it, give it to people, and, you get to what had happened was, until it's time to put up the money. So a lot of all my trips have all been solo trips. Especially all my international trips, they all been solo. I think that being in a relationship like the previous relationship that I was in, I think that it went up. It went up with her, like her and I taking trips together, not necessarily like my own trips, because I still was doing doing my own thing, because that was part of, I guess that was one of the qualities that or things that she liked about me was I was always on the go. So obviously when we got together, matter of fact, she took me our very first trip. She took me or invited me to Hawaii. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I paid, I paid for my airfare, because again, this is a trip she already had. She's like, well, listen, I got a friend over there that's doing, graduating. We're in a relationship now at this point, but she's like, well, let's go to, I want you to come with me to Hawaii. She's like, all right, cool. So found a decent flight, and that was that. We took some trips. We did some things, but during that, my solo travel basically stayed about the same. And I didn't take any other international trips because we had 2 already booked. But local stuff, still was on the go.
I don't know if it varies. Maybe it's dependent on the person that you're with, or because you are a man, I'm a woman. I don't know, but at least in my dynamics, it tended to be an issue when I would want to like travel either by myself or just not with my partner. So like I would maybe travel and meet friends somewhere, right? It was a thing. Like it was a real thing. And for me, my mentality, of course, at the time, also maybe a little skewed or whatever, or a little jaded in a sense. But my thinking was, if you're feeling a way about me traveling alone, then don't make me travel by myself. Right? No? Like, book your flight. What up? Like, just like, that to me was really the fix. Like, if you didn't want me not travel, if you didn't want me to travel by myself, then travel with me. But the thing really was, if I can't go, I don't want you to go either. That was the mentality.
Yeah, that's no good. I'm sorry. And, me personally, I've any woman, that I've ever dated, I've never not wanted them to go because I couldn't go. And if anything, I'm like, yo, go, please. Leave, bye, see you. Right, see when you get back.
Break, go.
Listen, if I'm not going anywhere and you got, okay, bye, see you later. Yeah, let me know. I mean, obviously I'm gonna check in, make sure that you made it, safe, that kind of thing. It's funny that you bring that up because a few years ago I was dealing with somebody who went on vacation, but she got mad at me because I guess I didn't check in enough with her while she was on vacation.
That's a good point. I didn't even think about that one. Yeah. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So she was gone. She was gone with a girlfriend. I think they went to the Bahamas or something like that. Obviously, she dropped her off at the airport, made sure that she got there safe, she checked in, that kind of thing, that she met up with her girlfriend because they had separate flights. So, it was good, and then, once I noticed she was safe, she was with her, they was together. I'll see, call me, when you get ready to go in, hit the bed for the night or something like that. But she wanted to talk throughout the day. And I'm like, listen, if you talk to me throughout the day while you're there, you're not going to have anything to tell me when you get back. So exactly. I don't want you to spoil it all for me right now, but I was very, and I don't know, I don't know, maybe in her previous relationship, she was used to the guy,
being up on her.
Yeah. Whereas me, I'm at least I thought, or in that relationship, that situation, I thought that I was I was comfortable with her. You know what I mean? And like I didn't I don't have to check in with you, all the time. It's not that I don't care, but at the same time, you go on vacation, go enjoy yourself, you know?
Agreed. So that's actually a great point because I feel exactly how you feel. Like if my partner is traveling and I'm not there, I'm not every 2 seconds, what you doing, what you doing, what you doing. First of all, I'm enjoying the fact that you ain't around. Okay. And not to say I don't like you, but I strongly believe in independence and independent time and like letting you let your hair down and whatever. Trust has to be there. So that should be understood, right? But for me too, I don't want you constantly what you doing, who you with, whatever. Like to me, that takes away from the experience that that you're having. However, I've dated people who that's what they wanted, like, oh, wherever I'm going, they want to know. And again, I don't know if it's because I am a female, right? And they're checking on safety, safety, or if it's something else, having to do with either their self-esteem or confidence. But the fact is, it's like that's kind of annoying. It's annoying to me, honestly. But like what you said, all right, once I get there, of course, I'm gonna let you know. Once I touch ground, right? Once I reach my destination, and maybe in the morning saying, hey, what's up? And then at night, yeah, I just got in my room, whatever. What more do you need to talk about? Right? Like to me, you're right. You won't have anything to talk about when we do link back up together, but it's to get a break away, right? Away from vacation is a break away from reality. And reality includes your relationship. Like includes work, your relationship, just family, whatever you're trying to escape. So like constantly checking in, like to me, it just doesn't make sense. We're grown. Like I feel like you're clocking me. I don't like being clocked. Like I don't like that.
Yeah, I don't like it myself. I don't do it to my partner, significant other, whatever, girlfriend. Yeah, I'm trying to remember back to a point that you said. Yeah, basically, safety, right? Okay, yeah. So you dealing, you're in a relationship, or vacation. Well, I guess it won't be a vacation if you're not there, but you're in a relationship with somebody. Good. I'm gonna check to make sure you're good. But other than that, like I'm not gonna ride your coattails. I want to give, like you said, give you that time and that space to decompress and because who knows, maybe you going on that vacation may have saved our relationship. Maybe I was pulling at
Ready.
your that last nerve, so.
Yep, that's a fact. So you just saying it just sparked a memory I had of being on a cruise. There's actually several vacations that I've had with partners, different ones, where for whatever reason, maybe I got sick on the trip. Maybe and then my energy level was just not there. And my partner's just like, all right, you can rest up. I'm going to go explore or I'm going to go do whatever. How do you feel about that? Being on a trip with somebody, y'all have different interests. Maybe the person doesn't want to do things you want to do, or maybe the person does. They get sick or, shit happens when you travel. And you are good though, and you still want to vacation. Like you're on vacation. How do you feel? Like, are you the person to be like, all right, I'll check in on you, make sure you're good. I'm going to still do me. Or just because that person is incapacitated, like you have to be too?
So I think it's like, I guess, again, situational. I think it's like 50-50 for me, right? Depending on the level, how far we're I guess, into a relationship. If my partner really knows me, they know that, I still want to get out there and do some things. But at the same time, I'm gonna definitely make sure that, she's she's all set. She's good. I mean, like you just, okay, you got like the stomach bug or something like that. Like you just puking or it's coming out of the rear end. You know what I mean? Like, all right, listen, I'm gonna buy you some tablets. You can stay in the cabin. You can stay in this hotel room and do what you do. I'm gonna be right back. But if it's something like like serious, like requires some hospitalization or doctor's attention, that kind of thing. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely stick around and make sure that she's gonna be good. But yeah, it's situational.
Okay, let's just say you guys were out, eating, drinking, shopping early in the day, but you're a night owl. She's not. Do you still leave if she's like, I'm gonna go sleep?
Oh yeah, if she like voluntarily like, hey, I'm tired, I don't, I'm sleepy, I'm this and that. All right, well, I see, when I get back in, when I get back into the room, I'll kind of keep the noise down. If it's just like, yeah, she's tired, I don't really see what's wrong with that, and vice versa. I mean, if it was me that was like, yeah, I'm a little, not really feeling it tonight, whatever. If she want to go out, okay, cool.
I agree. Listen. Sometimes I'm the person that like, look here, I'm tired. I'm not doing this, and yeah, I'm completely cool with go ahead and explore. But I know people who get upset at that, like, oh, if we're not doing it together, we came here together, right? Like, if you were not doing this together, it becomes a thing. And to me, that never made sense to me. Like if you're sick and you want somebody to be there for you, because again, depending on what you said, like depending on how sick the person is, whatever the case is, all right, I can understand that part. But if you're tired and I'm not, I'm going to explore. Like, I came here for this reason. I'm not gonna sit in the room. But I've known people who are upset about that, like real upset that why you don't want to sit here in this room with me, because we could have stayed home and sat up in the room.
Right. Which is another point to relate, or now I don't want to say relationships, but to vacationing. Some people like to go to places and go sit in the hotel room. No, nah. I mean, especially if it's the first time that I've been to this particular location, then nah, we out. We about to experience some things, do some things. Now, okay, like I'll use New Orleans as an example, because I've been in New Orleans, God knows how many times. So I've done, like I've done Bourbon Street, like just the whole gamut. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, all right, I love New Orleans. Don't get me wrong, because when I get down there, first thing I'm doing is I'm going to get my hand grenades. You know what I'm saying? Go get my hand grenades, my beignets, and go get me a game of pool boy. But listen.
I'm sorry. I'm having a moment. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna enjoy it, but at the same time, now I can be like, all right, well, listen, I don't really feel like, really necessarily going out, because I done been here, done that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have a problem, staying, just lounging around in the hotel room. Like I said, some place that I've never been before. Nah, we getting out. We about to go experience it.
For me, it's situational. When I say that, meaning like, what was my intent for booking the trip, right? So like, sometimes I book trips and I'm like, look, I've been busy as hell at home. I've been running around like a chicken with his head cut off. I'm taking this trip because I need to relax. So I will go, and not necessarily say I'm going to stay in the hotel room, but I'm doing things that are low energy. You know what I mean? Like sightseeing, eating, lots of food, right? Things like that. Not saying, no, I got to stay in the hotel room, but if that's what I want to do because I want to sleep, cool, I'm going to do it. But if I'm in that mindset of like, I want to be up and out, like, again, it's someplace I've never, ever been, and I want to explore, I'm going to make sure I give time to explore and then still give myself a little time to relax, right? Yeah, I think that right there is knowing the intent of the trip is super important, because some people, and again, with couples, some people go on a trip with different intentions. Like, they go on a trip, one person wants to party, they want to go to every single lounge, club, bar, whatever that this place has to offer. Whereas the other person is like, hey, I want to go to historical sites and I want to eat, whatever, the locals' food, and they have different intention. And then when they get there, trying to figure out an itinerary, some people do it before, some people do it after, but I'm a person that's like, I want to get there, let's see what happens. That's just me. But some people are like, oh, I already know what I want to do. And then this is when things start to clash. And this is when it's like, if I'm on vacation, I ain't fit to argue with nobody. That's number one. But two is, vacation me and back home me are two different people. Vacation me, I'm adaptable as a motherfucker. Okay, let's go. Like, you know what I mean? I'm eating what the fuck I want to eat. You want to do something? Okay, let's go. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be all, I don't want to, unless I really feel sick, unless I really have no energy, let's go.
Right.
Let's do it.
Nah, I'm with you on that because yeah, I guess I have a travel personality, and then I have my at home, and so it's funny because when I'm at home, I I'm over going out to the clubs, right? I'm not, I've run that circle in my, late teens all the way through my 20s, college years, all that. Like I'm over it. Right? I don't, most you might catch me at now is a nice little lounge, a bar, cigar lounge, a bar. That's about it locally. Now, when I travel, on the other hand, I'm like, okay, I got to find out the hot spots. I got to find out where the party at. So go and enjoy. Like you said, the music scene, food scene. All of that. Yeah. So you got to have a mix of both. And like you said, it's
Right.
finding out the intent of the trip.
Yeah, and there has to be a balance because even if both of y'all don't want the same things, it's both people should feel like they're getting satisfied in some way, right? Some people are really selfish when they travel, and they're probably just real selfish in life in general. But you get to see those parts of them though when you're, when you're in a different space and you have to quote unquote work as a team. You really get to see how that person really is, especially when they may not get their way, or they have to compromise. I think that really shows a lot. And I think that my main thinking when I was thinking about this is before I was thinking, vacation should happen like X amount of time into a relationship. Now I feel it should happen, even if it's like something local, right? Meaning, I'm in New York. Let's go a weekend to freaking Atlantic City. You can start small like that. Like, let's just see how this person maneuvers, how they handle situations, because it really gives you insight on people and how they act. And I think that being able to negotiate things, being able to compromise on vacation is important. You may not be able to hit up all 10 clubs. Like, we're not doing that. Like, we're not doing it. But we can hit up the top 2, the top 3, right? If we're here for X amount of days. And I want to hit up these local restaurants and stuff. We can also do that. Now, some people are like babies. I'm going to say babies. When they're traveling, if they don't get their way, they sour the whole experience. And that actually leads me to, so we go, kind of start to wrap this up, lead to my last 2 kind of points, right? Or questions. What has been your best vacation experience? And what has been the worst?
My best, I would say, I guess in my last relationship, we went to Paris. We spent the holiday in Paris. For the week. It was awesome. No complaints. My worst, I would probably say, would be my first one that I took, which was on the cruise. Again, I don't know what it was. The energy levels was just off. Like, she wanted to go left, I wanted to go right. It just was like, it was a constant, struggle. So that, like I don't have like an over the top like worst story, but it just was like that energy level was off, and we went like.
Yeah, I think my best, and I guess we could add what the elements of what made it the best too. But the best vacation experience I had was Hawaii, and not because of the location, but because just overall everything just was amazing, right? Like, granted, this particular person, I was with them for years at this point, but like the weather, of course, the experience, but everything just flowed. What we wanted to do, the things we actually did do, things like that. And so that was Hawaii. But I have two best, and I think 2 worst actually. Same person, and when we went to like something local, I consider local in the U.S. local. So like we went to Orlando, and again, it was just a regular Florida trip, right? I traveled all parts of Florida. I've been all over Florida, but this was like, it just flowed well. Like the activities that we did, you know what I'm saying? The weather, the food, the company. There was no like, oh, bumping heads. Oh, I don't want to do this. I want to do that. It just flowed really well. But I also think that had to do with the fact that I knew him, he knew me. We knew how to really, we knew what each other liked. You know what I'm saying? And so we were able to really get that to go well. Now, my worst experiences, and now that I'm thinking about it saying it out loud, I see the contrast. With this was, honestly, was a local trip to Atlanta. My first time being, and I think I was thinking, I was like, I don't like the location, but I think maybe it was who I was traveling with, to be honest. So I might have to go again to see if it's really the location, because I was just like, Atlanta's just like, all right, why people keep hyping this place up? It was okay. But I think it was the company. And that is important when you are traveling, right? Is the company. And for that experience, it was just end up having like an argument over nothingness, right? Arguments over nothingness, you know, finances was an issue. It just like that feeling of like, okay, well, you want to do X, Y, Z. Well, you know what? Okay, we can do some of what you want. Let's do some of what I want. It was mainly like a constant, like, okay, I want to do what I want kind of situation. And when I'm on vacations, like I said, I ain't fit to argue with you. So I'm gonna be like, all right, fine, okay, you know what I mean. But this person is like, when they were conceding or when they were quote unquote compromising, they made the experience with their energy just made it just not fun. You know what I mean? Even though they're like, okay, fine, we can go. They're there like, and so you know they don't want to be there. It's just, it was gross. So yeah, I would say I think Atlanta. I feel like I have another bad one, but those were the elements about it that just weren't good. Like when people don't want to compromise and they're just because they don't want to do something, they making it suck. Like even if I did, let's say we go into another club and I'm like, I'm clubbed out. You know what? I'm still gonna get dressed. I'm gonna still be cute, and when I get there, I'm gonna still try to have fun. Whereas people they don't want to be there, so they all, you know, doing all this, and it's like, stay. You should have stayed in the hotel. Like, why did you come?
Right.
So to wrap this up, I always like to ask people, you know, to leave the listeners or the viewers with some gems. So what are some things that you feel for those who've never vacationed or those who have and they just always had some like experiences? What are some gems or some things, some lessons learned that you had that you want to share and pass on?
Real quick, it's a point that you made. You know, it's all about the company. You know, being within the right company, because I think you can be in the worst travel destination spot, but as long as you're within the good company, you know you can make the best of it. That said, you know, again, establishing those I want to say, I keep saying the word boundaries, but you know, having a set parameters, if you will, of your expectations on a vacation, which we sort of kind of started to talk about at the very beginning, but we didn't really get to it, which is, you know, getting to the bedroom. You know, a lot of people, you know, some people, you know, listen, if we're going on a trip with with my lady, or you know, hey, it's it's gonna happen.
It's going down. Yeah.
Or you know what I'm saying, at least you know, if you're in an established, you know, relationship, you know what I'm saying, I don't, you know, that's not even a topic, but you know, going back to the premise of being in a group, you know, and meeting people out of their travel group, you know, I think that's a point, because I'm sure you and I have both seen how many posts we've seen about, okay, this person is expecting X, Y, Z, and blah 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 blah, and it's like, listen, I'm going out of town, going out of the country, of course.
It should be a conversation at the very least. Yeah.
Yeah. So have that conversation. You know, what the expectations are, what you both are looking to get out of the trip. 2, finances. I know T.I. put out the famous line, "It ain't tricking if you got it." But listen, don't you know, don't go into debt, you know, trying to prove a point. You know what I mean? The world, I know COVID, you know, Rona to mess things up, but you know, it'll be here tomorrow. You know what I mean? So don't go into debt trying to, you know, to flash a couple pics on IG. People don't care. I'm here to tell you. People don't care.
It's true.
So yeah, those are like my only two things. Have a conversation up front. Be open and honest about what your expectations are on the trip, and then, you know, discussing your finances.
I agree. I think the only thing I would add to that is really discussing, you know, I guess it would depend on how long you know the person, but even still, you can still asking them what their travel style is, right? And if they don't understand what that means, giving them like scenarios, or just saying, hey, are you the person that likes to just sleep when you're on vacation, right? Are you the person that likes to party when you're on vacation? Like, that will give you an indication of what to expect when you do travel with that person, as opposed to being shocked when you get there and it just like kills the whole vibe. Because you can make the assumption that, oh, we're going, let's say again, we were using Tulum as an example. We're going to Tulum. So that person may be thinking, oh, we're going to be on the beach. We're going to be by poolside and drinking and eating all day, right? Whereas you may be thinking it's Tulum, like what? We're gonna see the sights, right? And you thinking completely something different. You're not thinking about pools. You're not thinking about beaches. You're thinking about seeing rural parts, like the rural areas in Mexico. So I think that's important, right? To talk about, are you a person who likes to see sights, right? Or are you a person that likes to be with the locals? Because some people love that, whereas other people's like, nope, resorts and hotels only, right? So I think that that's the only thing that I would actually add for anyone who's thinking about it, trying to, plan a trip at some point with a significant other, or trying to just figure out where they're going wrong when they're having their vacation.
Right. Yep, I would agree.
All right. So that's it, y'all. Thank you for joining us.
Until next time.
Until next time.
Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of the Oasis podcast. I hope you were able to find something that resonated with you on your journey. Don't forget to subscribe everywhere you listen to podcasts and YouTube. Rate us and leave us a review and comment on Apple Podcasts or iTunes and YouTube. Share your favorite episode and like us on Instagram and Facebook. If you have any questions, comments, want to be a guest, or have show ideas, contact us at ajaysoasis@gmail.com. That's AAYJAYSOASIS@gmail.com, or direct message us on Instagram or Facebook.